am excited for this one. Nervously excited because you've been elusive. Usually I know what we're going into, but I'm going in blind today, which is nervous but really excited. What are we talking about today? What's our topic? Welcome back to the Veterinary Business Accelerator, the podcast for vet practice owners who want more time, more profit, and a business that doesn't run their life. I'm Dr. Hubert Hemstra, veterinarian, ex-practice owner, host of the Vetfeld podcast, and co-host of this show. In this episode, Dr. Sam Bowden, author, veterinarian, and the founder of the Accelerate Practice Academy, tries to make sense of one of the biggest mysteries that he encounters time and time again in his career as a practice mentor. If success is possible, and we know it is, because Sam has helped practice owners achieve their version of success time and time again, then why do so many practice owners stay stuck? Drawing on fresh research and years of experience, Sam introduces a powerful metaphor to help you pinpoint where you are on your ownership journey, what it is that's holding you back, and what it'll take to reach your next step. Sam explains the 5 mindset blocks that keep vets from making progress, even when opportunity is right in front of them. The 6 stations that practice owners typically pass through or sometimes get stuck at on their journey, and how to get unstuck. This one is thought-provoking, practical, and a little bit of fun. Okay, let's get to work.
The topic's come out of a question I've been asking myself for many, many years, sitting in the space of helping people in practice owners. And it comes out of, I've just spent a few days in New Zealand. I was over in Auckland, had the pleasure of hanging out with me Kiwi brews. And we ran a one-day event called How to Make a Hell of a Profit and Still Go to Heaven, which was to help people understand what's going on with the economy, how to position yourself, efficiencies, productivity, things like that, and still do well in your business. And then we had 2 days with our alumni group.
I would interrupt you. Just the name of that talk of yours, when you sent it to me, I did read it and go, Sam's making some bold assumptions about where he's going, about the heaven bed.
One can only put one foot in the right direction and hope it ends up in the right spot.
Anyway, I interrupted you.
Yeah, so talking to those practices, and so then we had our alumni group, which is what we call the Abundance Alumni Group. So it's kind of where they've been through a couple of years of mastermind, and we're really stretching these practices, and they're going really well. Like, they're going really well. Results that these practices get are almost a bit mythical in a way, because people say it's not possible. And then we just did a review of our AMG community group and see where everyone's out there, and the results that are coming out of there were extraordinary. And it just popped up again, this same question for me. If this is reality, that these are the results that are possible, where people are creating the kind of practices that they want to, and the opportunities there, what stops people actually going ahead and doing something about changing their situation? So we did a sort of deep dive into this, and we've commissioned quite a lot of research into understanding the psychology around practice ownership and things like that, so that we could understand better where people are at and what stops them actually doing something to go and create what they actually want. And out of that, we've spent about a month deep diving using a research company. And there are really 3 themes, and I'm going to be talking around these 3 themes today. And it's essentially what stops people getting what they want is clarity, belief, and their identity. So we're going to walk around these 3, and I've thought a lot about how to present this in a way that will make sense to people without anyone feeling as though it's beating themselves up about where they're at. It's like third person a bit, but I've used a metaphor, and it might be the simplest way to do this. He's now looking really nervous.
But before you start, I do want to get clarity. So if you say, what's stopping people from doing this? Are you saying that once people engage in the journey, because you say your clients are getting great results, have they overcome these things we're going to talk about today? Like, are we saying stopping people who have not engaged with this process? Or do you find that even as when people become your clients, they still sometimes get stuck?
Some people can get stuck, and obviously that's our job to get them unstuck, identify what's keeping them there. But largely I just look at practice owners, and you could just look at humanity. It's the same thing. If you went and asked the average person, 1 to 10, where's your stokedness level of your life? 1 being it's terrible, and 10 being, hey, this rocks. I'm pretty much living my best life.
Taylor Swift.
And the question is, most people are probably going to sit at somewhere between 5 and 7 in reality. is probably the reality. So all we've done is really deep dive just around practice owners to understand this. So I want you to imagine, if you're listening in, that there's a train, and the train is called Opportunity Express. And this train is a special train. It only takes practice owners. Now, this train has a final destination where it gets to, and it's called Integration. It's a township called Integration. And Integration is a township, and what happens is this is where there's good integration of good medicine. I'm practicing as a really good vet. There's good business. I'm doing well financially. I've got a really great team. We've got a system that clients, we've got raving fans, so we've got plenty of clients. I'm feeling really happy with our business and how that's going. And life. I've got the work-life balance. I can go and do the other things I want to do. I've got the finances, the freedom to invest in myself or hang out with those that I love or go on trips, etc. So the township's called Integration because we haven't had to sacrifice one for the other. We want all three. So on this train, there is this wily old, looks like a conductor, but it's actually a scientist, and he's disguised as a conductor, and his name is Dr. Your Desire. And so what Dr. Your Desire is actually doing an experiment. Now the experiment is, I'm going to watch and see where people get off this train, who gets back on again, and where they end up. And so these different towns that we talk, the last one is where its destination is this place called Integration, but there's some other towns. And the towns are this. There's one town that's called Pain Central. Now at Pain Central, this is medicine could be average. It's not probably terrible. It's probably average medicine. Business is not good. And work-life balance in life is generally not good. Now the theme of this town is, I hate this, I want out. Hence its name, Pain Central. I don't want to be here. So there's a town there called that. There's another town, and it's called Struggle Street. Now, in Struggle Street, the medicine's okay, probably pretty good, but the business is hard. It's not working the way. Everything's just a struggle. Struggle to get the right team, struggle to find the clients, struggle to get profitability. And as a result, the life component is probably not great either. So the theme here is, it's hard. This is a struggle, like running in mud. And the desire thought in this town is, I don't want to fail. Oh, I just hope I don't fail. So we're protecting the moving to Pain Central. The third town is this one called Whack-A-Mole. And you know that game at the arcades where the little mole would come up and you'd have the hammer and you had to hit it and it'd get faster and faster. And so Whack-A-Mole, the sort of township it is that it's got good medicine. Business is probably pretty good. You know, you're pumping along, but it's all about the business owner putting out the fires and playing whack-a-mole to keep things going. So as a result, the business is very dependent on the business owner. The work-life balance and the life componentry is not necessarily good. And the theme here is, I'm working really hard. So business will be going well, but it's about how fast I can run. And the clinical signs could be, I'm getting puffed. I'm starting to think about burnout, and these sort of words are starting to pop out. The desire here is, I want more leverage. I don't want this business to all be about me running hard. I'd like there to be more systems and processes and the people to manage more things. Then the next town is a town called Conductor. And Conductor is named because it's like a conductor leading the orchestra. It's not about you doing all the running. It's about you leading the team to run the systems. So here we've got good medicine. Here we've got good business. The business is doing well. It's a happy, engaged team. We've got raving clients and coming in, so our marketing's working. And the theme here, and we've got good work-life balance. It's pretty good. It's not as good as it could be, but it's pretty good because you still got to be there leading the orchestra. You're the conductor. And the theme here is life is good. Life's really good. It's pretty comfortable. I could happily stay here. But there is this little desire that sits in some of the conductors, that the desire is to expand and evolve. So what's beyond that? And that's the final town, the destination of integration. And integration is the town where we're topping out in good medicine, good business, great work-life balance. And the theme here is this is my best life. This is where I'm traveling, maybe I'm contributing to other causes, maybe I'm doing other things, and this is integration. So here's what I call the practice owner's dilemma. On the train, the Opportunity Express, there is not necessarily a map that shows you the different stops are available. And on top of it, the conductor on the train, Dr. Your Desire, is not particularly helpful. In fact, on purpose, when someone says, hey, where does this train end up? He won't answer the question. He pretends as though he's mute, because what he's interested to see is where do you choose to get off? So off we go. Everyone piles on the train of Opportunity Express, which is called I've Now Got to Practice, and train starts chugging down the track. So what he notices as people are getting on and off these destinations of these different stages of the journey is that Dr. Design noticed that some practice owners get off at a particular town, they try the town for a while, and they say, I like this. This is what I've got. This is what I want. And they stay there in that scenario because it's exactly the town they're looking for. And he calls them fulfilled. Then he noticed that some practice owners will get off at a certain town. They'll live there for a while. They'll try it and they go, this is not really what I want. This is not what I had in mind. Don't really like what it looks like, this town. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and see if I can find another town or see if there's another train going to a different town. And eventually they'll find that there is actually another train coming through and there is a timetable and they jump on that and they know the next town that they can go into. And Dr. Desire calls these the seekers. He noticed there was a third group and these practice owners got off. They lived there for a while in the town. Then they found that they didn't really like the town. They didn't like what it was about. But because they didn't believe there was any other towns and they didn't believe or they weren't aware there was any other train coming through, they accepted the discomfort. They might accept a few things they didn't like. He called this group the tolerators. It wasn't what they wanted, but you know what? I can put up with it. But he noticed there was a subgroup of the tolerators. They'd put up with it, even though they didn't really like where they were at. And these ones he called the victims. And the victims were the ones who said, I don't like this place. And they jump up and down about the streets and the houses and the council and everything else. But they said, it's not my fault. There's nothing I can do about it. And essentially they felt like they were victims in the train scientist experiment. And then there was a fourth group of people. And he noticed these practice owners, they got off. They realised, this is not the town I'm looking for. So they went seeking and they actually found that there was another town and they found the train. They even found the timetable and they got to the train station. Train pulls up. Dr. Desire's sitting there, big smile on his face going, would you like to board the train? It's going to the town. And they knew what town it would go to the train. And they'd stand there and he'd be looking at his watch, and he'd go, train's about to leave. And doot, doot, horn would toot, last train. And he watched these people would lift their leg as though they're going to step on the train and then they'd stop. And then they'd back. They wouldn't step on the train would take off. And Dr. Your Desire called this group the doubters. And what he noticed about the doubters, they were very intelligent people who got overthunk whether they should get on the train or not. There were things they were thinking that stopped them getting on the train. So what he wanted to know is what stopped them getting on the train. They knew they were in a place they didn't want to be. They had found a vehicle to take them where they want to go. What stopped them getting to where they want to go? And this is where we went and did a lot of research to understand that this is available, this integrated site's available. What stops you getting there? And there was 5 things I want to share with our audience that we found from the research. And as we're going through these, a couple of things that I want you to sort of be thinking about is, number one, of those towns, which one are you sitting at? Which one of those type of practice owners are you? Are you fulfilled? Are you a doubter? Are you a tolerator? Are you maybe a victim? Are you a seeker? So where do you sit? And I want you to think about in the next session we're going through, if you're in a town you don't like and you know how to get to another town, which one of these things maybe resonates with you, because it could be the key to you going and getting integration in your life. So the first thing that we found, which is no surprise, is that they wanted financial security. So this is vets in general, and practice owners are a little further sort of along, where they want financial security, but there's quite a lot of guilt associated with being able to make, significant finances out of a vet. That was the first thing we found. The second thing we found was work-life balance is something that many want, but because of a level of, let's call it professionalism/perfectionism, it stops them feeling comfortable delegating things that would give them more leverage, so more work-life balance. Someone else is doing it while you're not there. There was a fear of kind of handing over because it may not end up how they wanted it to. And so this is a thought around, it's got to be perfect, it's got to be exactly right. Otherwise, the repercussions of that is worse than me not having work-life balance. So we found that that's one of the things that would potentially stop people jumping on the Opportunity Express. The third one, and this statistic, I went and checked back with the researchers to say, is this true? And they believe it is. 68% of vets are believed to have imposter syndrome. Now, I would have thought that practice owners were up there, but I didn't realize vets in general had it. And imposter syndrome essentially is this: they feel like they're frauds, and what if I get found out? That's the base of imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome stems from generally high achievers, because what's driven high achievers is desire to achieve, that I'll feel okay if I achieve. But there's always this fear that can sit underneath it. There's, what if I get caught out? I don't ever really feel like I've got mastery in any particular area. So what we believe is that practice owners actually have a higher level of imposter syndrome even than that, because you've overlaid practice ownership on top of actual veterinary science. And so the clinical signs of this, the way of this actually plays out at a psychological level is, I'm smart, I should be able to figure it out myself, which will often stop people stepping on Opportunity Express and letting someone else give them a hand. I should be able to figure it out myself because I'm smart. And the other thing is that a rejection of anything comes back to point number one, or about guilty around making money or being seen that way. Anything that feels remotely salesy, anything that feels remotely corporate, independent practices will push away from, they'll reject anything that, if that train looks like that at all, I know it's going where I want to, but I'm just not going to step on board it, which I think is a very interesting insight. The fourth piece that came out of the research that would stop people getting really what they wanted out of their practices is this underlying story of, I can't afford the ticket to the next town. And this is counterintuitive because it's not the way that humans work. If we take before we were vets, the desire was there, the opportunity was, I want to be a vet. Now, generally, most people do not have the resources, the financial, they can't afford to pay for their vet course. But because the desire's there, they find other mechanisms. So, in the US, you can get debt, in Australia, we can get HECS and things like that. And essentially what happens is it's the biblical concept of seed time harvest. So in order to do a vet, you had to find a way to do it that you couldn't afford, and then you become a vet. Now I know how to be a vet, so therefore I reap the rewards of being a vet, and we pay back the seed. So you invest first and you receive in response. So we do this intuitively in a lot of other areas. It's just fascinating when we observe business practice ownership. I can't afford to. And I was talking to a practice just the other day, and it's not going how they want. And they said, I can't afford to do anything about it. And you can see the bind going on, that there's the train, they know where it's going, The conductor's there's going, you want to get on board. He's got the choice, but there's these thoughts going on, the doubting thoughts of, what if it doesn't work? Which is really the fifth thing that we've found that stops people getting what they truly want is or I call it the mental arm wrestle. And it's desire versus fear. So the desire is to get to integration, create that practice that gives you fulfillment of good medicine, fulfillment of running a good business, and it's filling other areas of your life. Who wouldn't want that? Of course. It's a very obvious town to want to live in. So that's the desire to get there. What's the fear component? What's the arm wrestle that stops you doing what it is required to get there? And there's a few sort of key fears that we found came out. Number one is fear of scarcity. That's a straight financial thing is, what if I put the money, if I invest in something and I don't get return my investment? So that's a fear of scarcity playing out. The second fear is fear of results. So what if I do the stuff and it doesn't work? What if I can't bring the team on board? What if the fear is this, what if it doesn't work for me? So I'm different to the next person that it worked for. So it worked for them. And even though I know that it works for over 90% of people, get a result, what if I'm one of those 5%? The last fear, I believe, is fear of energy. So whenever we're going to do something, we think, what's the energy required that I need to put in order to get back the outcome I want? And as vets were so busy and practice owners so busy, the thought is, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to get on that train, there's a lot of energy associated with it. I'm buggered. I don't think I've got the energy to actually put my foot up and step onto that train. And I think that's a massive one, is this misbelief that it's going to be a lot more effort. Because what I've observed is that practice ownership, when you've got good medicine, when you've got good business, which is really mindsets and system, it gives you the third one you want, which is it actually gives you the energy because things are heading in your way.
Should we recap? I've been making notes, see that I understood. Destinations first, putting it in different words. First station. Have you ever watched the YouTube, Facebook guy called Aussie Man Reviews? It's like an Australian guy who does voiceovers of, have you come across his Destination Fucked?
No, I haven't seen that one, no. But if you're listening, you now need to go watch it.
There's a whole series of them where he looks at people making terrible mistakes and he says they're heading straight to Destination Effed. So station one, I'm in Destination Effed.
If you just put new street signs up for me here, but that's fine.
Yeah. Destination two is, this is a struggle. It's hard work. It's a grind, right?
It's mud.
It's mud. Destination three is we're going okay. Things are working, but what problems are going to pop up today? And that's going to ruin my day. And I don't know how much longer I can do this for because there's just too many, as you say, too many fires to put out. So we're getting there.
It's sheer blunt force energy. It's working because I'm working my butt off. Yeah.
Gotcha. And the second last one is, this is great. This is what I was talking about. I've gotten this far, so maybe I can get a little bit further. If I'm doing this well, maybe there's a next step that can be even better. And then the last one is, that's where we want to be. Integration. It's your best life, as you said. And the dilemma, the different kinds of people who get up at the different stations. So it might not be in the order that you have it, but basically there's a group that goes, I'm happy with my lot. This is where I am is great. I like to struggle.
We call fulfilled is they go, I'm getting what I want.
Yeah, my wife will get off at the second station. She loves to struggle. I always tease her. She's not happy until she's struggling.
You do not do yourself any favors on this podcast, do you, Hubert?
No, she doesn't listen to it. Anyway, so there's the guy. I'm happy with where I am. I like struggling. Second one is, I'm not happy with this, but it is just the way it is. So I'll put up with it and get on with life. Next one is, I'm not happy with this, but it is just the way it is. And it's not my fault. I'm a victim. Somebody got it in for me. That's why I'm stuck in this place that I don't want to be. Then there's the sucks. I'm out of here. Where's my opportunity out of here? I'm going to move forward. But then there's the one that you talk about is the sucks. And there's an opportunity out of here, but I'm not going to get on. I'm not going to get on that train. I'm not going to do anything about it because. And then there's a list of reasons why. Why don't people take that opportunity to get them out of there? Next station doesn't fit with my values around money, about how I perceive myself. It's a values thing. It's cool. I know that station, the next station's there, but it doesn't fit with who I think I am and how I'd like the world to perceive me. Second one is I'm a control freak. If I don't do it, it might not be done well enough. So I'd rather just do it all myself.
These are the things that'll stop people who are seeking. They're seeking something different. They don't like what they're getting and they're seeking, and they can see a solution, but they don't. And often I don't think they're clear on what's stopping them. Because when you actually break it down to these components of, I feel guilty around money, or I feel I can't actually hand over, I'm fearful. Control freak is a term that people I might identify with. I think it's a bit brutal. I don't think they are control freaks. I actually say it's fear induced, because if I hand that control over, what could go wrong? And that's what actually drives that behavior. So, that's a real thing.
And then the next reason why we don't get on the train, why we don't decide to move forward is I don't have the skills. It's not for people like me. I'm scared the results won't be good enough. I'll fail. I'll look stupid, and I can't ask for help, basically. I'm not good at asking for help.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome, which is I'm smart. Why can't I figure this out myself? I'm a vet. I should be able to figure this out. And I feel like an imposter. So therefore, I don't want to put my hand up and ask for help, because everyone will go, you don't know what you're doing. That's a real thing. And what amazed me is 68% of our research shows 68% of vets suffer from this in some way, shape or form.
Next group says, I can't afford it. Yeah, I know what I should do, but I can't afford it. I don't trust that the investment is going to pay me back. And I get that. It's really interesting that you talk about the vet thing. I've never thought of it like that. But is it because it's a fairly clear path? I'm going to put in the money, but I know I'm going to be earning that much, and I can do the very simple maths. It's almost a guaranteed. If I invest in a vet degree, I'll pay it back, versus it can look a little bit too vague to go, ooh, I'm going to put in all this money, but I'm definitely going to get it back. I don't necessarily believe or trust that it's going to give you those results. Is that what you find?
Absolutely. It's the belief that this won't work for me. So if I put this money in, how do I know it's going to work? Like, how do you know that you're going to pass vet school? The answer is you actually don't. Because if you don't do the study and you don't turn up and follow the process, you don't graduate from vet school. Although I'm sure in our day, there are a few people who slid through who didn't follow the process and they managed to get through. Funny enough, they're the ones who are really good at business now, because they figured out what was the hack that I could get my degree without the work. But if you don't follow the process, if you don't turn up at exams and get a certain amount of marks, you're not going to be a vet. And business is no different. If you follow the process, what you had security or safety is, if you do this and this, turn up and we'll provide you with the lectures and the tutes, and we'll give you everything you need to pass. You just have to do the work to pass. If you do that, we'll guarantee that you're probably going to get a ticket. And if not, you fail it first time, that's okay. You can come back and do it a second time. We'll get there if you're just prepared to follow the process. So it's the same thing. I just don't think people have clarity, or belief is that they don't understand the process, number one. Or number two, they don't have enough evidence. They haven't seen enough evidence that, well, I know 30 vets who went through the process and they ended up as vets. So I think it's that piece that for some people might be missing.
Or then the last thing that you said is the tension between where I am and where I want to be isn't enough to motivate me to deal with the discomfort and the fears that are associated with the process. So again, back to the vet school phenomenon, when I was pre-vet school, I had nothing, no job, nothing, and I wanted to have a job. And that's a big driver. So I've got to study something. This is something I'm in, versus the tension might be, well, maybe I'm not at destination F. I'm at one of the later stations. It's okay. I would like to be there, but I don't know if I want it badly enough to risk failing, to risk fear, to risk looking stupid, all these things.
Yeah, which is why I call the conductor Dr. Desire, because we all have desire, and then the desire, we're all insane. Our minds are crazy. It tells us all sorts of crazy stuff. We have desire, and what I see is that tension between desire and current situation. And it's understanding, why do I really desire that thing and why? And then what's keeping me in my current situation if there's a clear-cut way towards the outcome. I was always to say, if you had some debilitating disease and you knew that there was something that statistically gave a 90% chance of curing, you're going to go and take that because your desire is so high. So I think there's this matrix between, if desire and belief align, they're called our alumni group. That's just what happens. They go, cool, I'm getting on the train. I'll follow the process. They get their vet degree. They get their successful business. They get integration. But I think they've had that, been comfortable to step on that train.
Right. So was my recap accurate enough? Was I listening?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good, mate. You'll get a B+.
Okay.
Yeah, but you were probably a student who got A's all the way through, eh? Is that true?
No comment.
We don't want to be that vulnerable in front of thousands of listeners. I get it. Let's wrap this up with a little bit of think time for people. Your life is created in a few decisions you make in it. And I think a lot of people put off making decisions because of all the things we just talked about. So here's your homework. Number one, which town are you at the moment of those towns I talked about? Which one do you identify that, that sounds like where I'm at? Number two, what's the impact on you and others of you being at that town? So if it's a town you don't want to be, how's that playing out and you not getting the life you truly want? And these are the kind of general things when you walk your way through that actually build the desire and build the belief in yourself to go, hey, I want to do something about it. Number three, what town do you want to be at? Which of these towns do you want to be? Is it whack-a-mole? Is it conductor? Is it integration? And generally the train does move from one to another. Pain Central is available at any time, but normally it starts at, when we start, it's at Struggle Street. That's kind of where the train, that's the first stop there. But you can get off that and you can jump back on the train and go, well, what's next? I'm probably going to have to go to whack-a-mole where I'm stuck in the business going busy. It's about me. Then go, great, I've got that now. What's the next one? It's conductor. So I think identifying where you're at, identifying what's next for you, where do you want to get to and where do you want to get to ultimately. And then the last thing that I think is really important, if people just do this one thing and identify it, I think they'll find it really helpful in creating the life you truly want, is what are the things that's stopping you boarding that train to your next town? What is it that's getting in the way? And, do you want to tolerate that? And if you're okay with it, as we say, if you're good, because it just means there's a desire versus fear matrix is kind of balanced. It's like, okay, we're happy that we're got what we want.
One of those reasons not to get on the train, I take it you can have multiple. Again, as always, whatever we're talking about, I'm applying to my own life. It's not a vet practice, but it's still a business. And I go, I can identify a few reasons. Some of them can feel very real, though, not just a mindset. Like if you say, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Part of me goes, I can't afford it. I'd love to get somebody to do all these jobs for me, but at this point, I can't actually afford it. How do we get over those practicalities?
The practicality of these is, and first your question, do you have multiple? Of course. In fact, most people have got most of these playing out, or at least some of them. And sometimes we'll work with people to get to a certain level and there'll be one primary, what we call a C anchor. It's like just slowing them down. It's just stopping them jumping on board that train. And it's helping them overcome that. And sometimes, on the train it says, mind the gap. There's a little hop of faith you've got to take. There's a little bit of like, as Richard Branson's book said, screw it, let's do it. I'm just going to jump on this train because I'd rather find out. I don't want to die wondering. And so there's always that little bit of anything you do. When you go to vet school, there was a little leap of faith. Okay, right, I'm going to do this. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'll give it a crack. The thing like I can't afford it one, I think is interesting because if I said to you, well, if you do this thing and you had a guarantee of the outcome, that would overcome the I can't afford it, even if you didn't have the money now. So someone said to you, Hubert, if you go and get into debt doing vet school, I can guarantee you at the end that as long as you go through the process, that you'll be able to create a life out of vet, and I'll guarantee it. You'll get a job, and you'll make money. That's how you overcome it. Is the certainty or predictability of the future helped you overcome the uncertainty that someone's wrestling with now, and that's unfortunately life's. The purpose of evolution in life is this. When you move into uncertainty, that's when the growth occurs. And it's interesting because a lot of people avoid uncertainty, and that actually might keep them in a town they don't want to be at. And that's what we call the tolerators, because they tolerate it because what if I get back on the train and it actually goes backwards?
I think that's the fear. That is the fear. When you pre-vet school, there's only one direction. Versus once you get to one of those stations, there is a risk of the train going backwards.
Unless you can find enough evidence that the train always goes forwards. And I think that's the point. That's why I talked at the start of this. This is why this sort of discussions come up is I look at the results. Like I just saw 19% of practices that we're working at the moment just reported their best month ever in what's considered a bit of a challenging environment. They just have a different economy. They think differently. They're doing stuff differently. They're finding vets, they're building practices, they're doing stuff. They're just different. So to me, I always say, how do you know if something works? Well, the evidence points towards the cause. So we go, why? The evidence is they're getting these results. What was the cause of that? Well, they chose to get on the train. And so there's a point of time where, is anything 100% predictable? What is it? Life, death, and taxes. Yes, they are. Outside of that, everything else has got a bit of a question mark. It's just up to you how big that question mark wants to be. I think that's enough because I want people really thinking about this, where I'm at now, 1 to 10, how comfortable I am, and what's my desire to be at another level and what's getting in the way, and that might help them do something about it. And if you want to discuss getting to a different town, shoot us an email at info@acceleratepracticeacademy.com and jump on and we'll find a time and we'll give you the map. And the next episode, when you get on the train, we might as well keep with my train theory because I love it. I was very excited doing this. There's some people who get told, oh, you get on, it'll be easy. It'll be simple. It'll be stressless train. And I think anyone who tells you that either has never been there themselves or they're just looking to try and get the train fare out of your pocket and then they scurry away whether the train's there or not. So there's times that highs, they go really well. Things are going great. We don't need to talk about that. But there's times when there's lows. It's like a roller coaster, as we all know in business. What I'm going to talk about is dealing with the lows.